Hello students, welcome to the e-learning program initiated by Shri Gyan Vidyapeeth for the students of standard 8th. Once again, nice to see you in today's social science lecture for semester 1, lecture number 3. In the last lecture, we had continued our topic about chapter number 1, which we initiated in the first lecture, that is the arrival of the Europeans in India. The European powers, how did they come to our country? The last lecture we had seen the sequence in which the powers came to our country, right in the 15th century all the way up to the 16th and 17th century. We acknowledged ourselves that in 1498 the Portuguese came, followed by the English East India Company, that is in the 1600s, the Britishers came, then the Dutch almost in the same time period, that is 1602, the Dutch East India Company arrived in our country. Then came the Danish East India Company, about which we do not have any details given to us in our text, that is in 1616, and the French East India Company came in 1664. Having acknowledged this, today we are going to look into the last two topics that we need to read and understand from our text, that is about how the British established their political powers in our country. What happened that they got this power in our country, for which we need to read and understand about two important battles that took place in the Indian history. The topics have been mentioned in your text, so I put up these topics on the board. The two important battles that took place in our country were the Battle of Plassey and the Battle of Buxar. Well, the Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar are going to be the two important topics about which we will learn today. Battle of Plassey was a very crucial battle that took place, and followed by that was the Battle of Buxar. So in today's lecture we will be looking into the reading and understanding of these two battles particularly. Well, before we get into the details and the in-depths of these two battles, let us quickly have a recapitulation about what we learned in the earlier lecture. In the last lecture, we read about the British interest in India. How did the British gain their interest to establish the political powers in our country? We came across how did the British arrive in India in 1600 by formulating the East India Company, which was belonging to the private merchants over there. So they came to India with the intention of only trade, and later on, when the possession or the power of the East India Company went into the hands of the new merchants, they decided to gain political powers in our country. Then we read about the French East India Company, which came to our country in 1664. They also established factories and forts in our country, and gradually a person named Joseph Francois Duplex had the intention of capturing the different places in our country. So he had these intentions, who desired to rule over India, and that is how his desire and his strong wish made him capture many places in our country. However, we understood that French could not retain their control over the centers of Puducherry, Mahe. They could retain the control over the trading centers of Puducherry, Mahe and Chandranagar, but many of the places that they had in their custody, they lost in the hands of the Britishers due to the wars between the British. So British and the French, they were always at a warlike situation, what we refer to as Carnatic wars. Further, we understood in the last lecture that the British trade in Bengal. How did trade start in Bengal? We came to know that the British first started trading on the banks of the river Hooghly and established their forts in the year 1651. And not only that much, they garrisoned, they fortified their forts by protecting them with soldiers, bringing in military and defense, though they had come only with the purpose of trading. So what was the need of bringing military over there or garrisoning their fort? But they had some other intentions in their mind. So getting permission from the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb without paying taxes or paying taxes on an annual basis, that is what we learned, that Aurangzeb allowed the Britishers to trade, the British merchant to trade, that is the East India Company. But the private merchants also took advantage of this and they also did not pay taxes. We acknowledged about this where the expansion of British rule took place between the 1757 and 1857. This was the topic we understood. That British East India Company was in the race to earn more and more money. And because of this, it came into an agreement with the with Aurangzeb that they would be paying only an annual tax, or an annual taxation policy came into existence. Generally, when you trade, you have to pay taxes, isn't it? So Aurangzeb gave this permission to pay only an annual tax, a lump sum tax, and not to pay tax for every trade or every time. Therefore, it was easy for the British East India Company to trade with India and take the goods from India and sell it over there. So it benefited them a lot. But this benefit was availed by, illegally availed by. It was not allowed. It was illegally availed by some private merchants who used to trade, or private traders who used to trade in on a personal basis. Some officers also started taking advantage of this. Therefore, what happened? The tax collection was reduced. So, passing on the throne to the income generated from this tax collection reduced, which was opposed by the Nawab of Bengal at that time, that is Murshid Quli Khan, and his descendant, two descendants after that, that is Ali Vardi Khan and then Sirajul Dowla. So Ali Vardi Khan and Murshid Quli Khan, no doubt, knew that they were losing their taxes, but they never got into any war with the Britishers. But Sirajul Dowla did not resist this, or was not able to take this. Therefore, he decided to attack the Britishers and have a war with them. And he got involved into a major war with the British as well. So today we are going to read into the Battle of Plassey, a war that took place between the British and the Nawab of Bengal then, that is Sirajul Dowla. So let us go through it and find out more in details about it. Sirajul Dowla became Nawab of Bengal in the year 1756. This is the year when he got the power to rule Bengal. He became the Nawab of this place after his father Ali Vardi Khan. He had an overwhelming influence over the British. So he had an influence over the British. Britishers were afraid of him. That is what is, we know, we acknowledge. The Britishers did not have that much of army as Sirajul Dowla had. Sirajul Dowla had around, say, more than 50,000 people in his troops, in his army, whereas Britishers had very few thousands of them, 4,000 to 5,000 of them. So compared to Nawab's army, British had very few soldiers. So practically speaking, it was very difficult for British to wage a war against the Nawab, that is Sirajul Dowla. But Nawab of Bengal, that is Sirajul Dowla, was steadfast to have a war with, because they were not paying the taxes. So he had an overwhelming influence over the British. The British helped the competitors of Sirajul Dowla, because the British knew that they could not directly fight with Sirajul Dowla. If they directly go and fight with Sirajul Dowla, what would happen? They would eventually lose a war. And not only that much, their existence would be in danger. They would be endangered over there. Therefore, what did the Britishers do? They used all kind of tactics. So they started helping the competitors or the envoys of, or the enemies of Siraj-ud-Dawla. So naturally what would happen? They would become friends. The foes of Siraj-ud-Dawla would become the friends of the Britishers. Therefore, they helped him. They helped the enemies of Siraj-ud-Dawla by conspiring against him so that he would not remain on the throne of Bengal. So that was the first thing that the Britishers thought. That in order to win Bengal, they wanted to capture Bengal, because Bengal at that time was a main trading center, a main port at that time, where they used to take ships, bring in ships and take ships out from there. Therefore, it was very important to dethrone or throw away Siraj-ud-Dawla from the power, from the Nawab as a Nawab Bengal. Therefore, the Britishers started helping or making good relations with the competitors of Siraj-ud-Dawla. There were frequent conflicts with the British merchants regarding the payment of taxes. So every now and then there were conflicts, small or big disputes, where Britishers would not pay taxes and the people of the Nawab of Bengal, that is, people of the administration of Siraj-ud-Dawla, would keep on asking or compel the Britishers to pay taxes and try to bring in front of them the wrongdoings of the Britishers. So little conflicts used to keep on happening every now and then between the Britishers and the Nawab of Bengal regarding the payments of taxes. When the British merchants failed to pay the taxes, despite of giving them several warnings, by asking them to pay taxes every now and then, when they did not pay the taxes, when they failed to pay the taxes, the matter was at a hike, which were applicable to both Indian and foreign merchants. So this kind of taxes were applicable on both Indian merchants also and foreign merchants also. Despite of that, when they did not pay, the situation came to a boil. Now, what's the meaning of situation came to a boil? It means it was out of control. Something that goes above your patience. So Siraj-ud-Dawla lost his patience. He was not able to take this anymore. Unlike his father and his grandfather, that is Murshid Quli Khan and Ali Vardi Khan. He ordered the British should not fortify the factory, pay the taxes as per the rules and trade as per the terms and conditions. Three things he told them. Not to fortify your factories. So you are not supposed to secure your factories, or you are not supposed to protect them, protect your factories. Because they were not paying taxes, they were not obedient to him. He was the ruler of that place. So the ruler is the final authority who will be deciding how the administration would go on. Isn't it? All the foreign policies would be decided by him. The foreign affairs would be dealt by him. So here they were not obeying him. And pay the taxes as per the rules and trade as per the terms and conditions that were told to them, which was decided by Aurangzeb. But they were not ready to do this thing. This provocation was enough for Siraj to opt for. This was one simple reason, a proper reason for Siraj-ud-Dawla to rage a war against the British people, to opt for war, because he had been left with no other choice but to have a war with the British and drive them away from the country. And he succeeded in expelling the British from Calcutta, and that is what he did. He did a war with the British people and threw them away, expelled them away, drew them away from Calcutta. So Siraj-ud-Dawla took the complete control of Calcutta in his hands and threw them away. Well, when this happened, an incident called Black Hole took place, where it is said that Siraj-ud-Dawla, after having had a war with the British and capturing Kolkata or driving the British away from there, one of the British men, along with some other people, say around it is said some 140 odd people, were captured or they were imprisoned in a very small place around 16 feet by 14 feet, which was termed as Black Hole later. They were imprisoned over there overnight. So the entire night they were forced to spend over there, and because of that, the place being very small and more number of people held over there, captive over there, that only few people survived and most of them died in the morning. So this incident that happened in history is regarded as black hole. So this news of killing British people, which included children, men and probably 2 women also, reached Robert Clive and he became very angry on this thing, and therefore he made a counter-attack on Siraj-ud-Dawla. Well, let's read this. The British counter-attacked under the leadership of Robert Clive. So when Robert Clive came to know that Siraj-ud-Dawla had attacked Kolkata and he had captured it and made imprisoned British people, British officers, British men, including women, and most of them had died due to shortage of water supply and oxygen supply in that particular room. They were made to die over there, keeping them captivated the entire night. So such a cruel act was done by Siraj-ud-Dawla. Later on it was revealed that it was not, the orders were not given by Siraj-ud-Dawla. Maybe his men had done. Well, the British counter-attacked under the leadership of Robert Clive. Clive knew very well that it was not possible to defeat Siraj-ud-Dawla with a handful of people, handful of soldiers which he had with him. So again he used technique. He was known for such a thing. He was known for all kind of diplomatic warfares. So what did he do? He bribed one of the men, one of the important chief of the Siraj-ud-Dawla's army, that is bribed Mir Jafar, who was the commander-in-chief of Siraj-ud-Dawla. Right? Clive very well knew that it was not possible to defeat Siraj-ud-Dawla by directly having a war with him. But if somebody deceives, or if the men of Siraj-ud-Dawla himself deceives, then it was possible to win the battle. Therefore, what did Robert Clive do? He used a very clever trick. He bribed Mir Jafar, the commander-in-chief of Siraj-ud-Dawla, by promising him, see what kind of promise he gave, to confer the throne of Bengal to him and convinced him to join their side. So somehow, what did Robert Clive do? He gave offer to Mir Jafar that he would make him the Nawab of Bengal. He would put him on the throne if he helped him to dethrone or kill Siraj-ud-Dawla. Well, naturally, commander-in-chief got tempted with this offer and he decided to help. Now directly he would not be able to help. So what did he do? He did not participate actively in the war. He did not actively participate in the war. When the war started, when the two armies were fighting each other, Siraj-ud-Dawla later on came to know that he had been deceived by his own commander-in-chief, but it was too late. Well, with the help of Mir Jafar, Robert Clive defeated and murdered Siraj-ud-Dawla in the Battle of Plassey. So what happened? Mir Jafar did not actively participate in the war. He did not go to the war front, and as a result of this, majority of the war had to be fought by the Nawab himself. And later on, when he came to know, when it was revealed to him, when he realized that his own commander-in-chief, this commander-in-chief is a very important person in the army, isn't it, had deceived him, it was too late. So he tried to flee away from there. He tried to save his life. But unfortunately, Mir Jafar's son Miran, he happened to stop Siraj-ud-Dawla. Otherwise, Siraj-ud-Dawla had great powers. He could have re-attacked later stage with a new army. He got that capable and potential. He would have been able to restructure his army and come and attack him. Unfortunately, Mir Jafar's son Miran happened to stop the way of Siraj-ud-Dawla, and in this battle he was murdered, he was killed. Therefore, Siraj-ud-Dawla's survival came to an end. The death of Siraj-ud-Dawla gave a way open to the British people, because now Mir Jafar, as promised, would be made the Nawab of Bengal. Well, this was the first war fought by the company in India, which marked the beginning of the British rule in India. Thus, this war is considered to be a turning point in the history of India. So, as promised, Mir Jafar was then made the Nawab of Bengal. He was felicitated with the throne, the crown of, or the Nawab of Bengal. But this particular war proved out to be a turning point in the history of India, where the Britishers could dominate the political powers in our country. This is how they acquired the political powers in our country. The entire Bengal was in the hands of the British now. Now they were the rulers over there, isn't it? Though Robert Clive was not the ruler or the governor of Bengal over there. He was not the Nawab. He made Mir Jafar the Nawab. But finally, he was the puppet of the Britisher. Therefore, he would be doing whatever the British would ask him to do. But Mir Jafar also did not allow the Britishers, or did not give them proper powers to trade in India. He also objected to the taxation for which they had planned to dethrone Siraj-ud-Dawla and replace him with Mir Jafar, thinking that they would be acquiring powers to rule or power to trade in India without paying any taxes. Well, as thought by the Britishers, things did not go well, and which led to the second war, that is the Battle of Buxar. Well, in the things to know, you've been given some important thing about the word Plassey. So let's read it. Do you know how Plassey got its name? Well, we know the name as Plassey. Well, the real name is not Plassey. It has got its original name. The original name is Palasi, P-A-L-A-S-S-I, Palasi, which the British tried to say in their own way as Plassey. So, in their own accent, they pronounced the name Palasi as Plassey, and therefore everywhere it is said as Battle of Plassey. Well, it is the modified way of saying Palasi. Now, what is Palasi? Palasi is the name of a tree. Palash. Palash is the name of a tree. Or in the colloquial name or the local name can be called as Khakra tree. So, Palasi, the tree of Palash, Khakra. The flowers of Palash tree are saffron in color. They bear a saffron color. And these Palash flowers are used in the making of the colors for Holi. And this is how the battle got its name Plassey, because the battle was fought in a particular place where a lot of Palash tree grew, and therefore the battle acquired its name as Battle of Plassey. Originally Palasi or the Palash tree, the Khakra tree. So the Khakra tree grew in abundance in that particular region where the war took place, and that is how, when in history it is referred to as Battle of Plassey, we recall and understand that original name is Palasi or the Palash tree, the saffron colored flowers which is used to make holy colors. Well, you've been given to do something, to think about something. Let us read and understand. We acknowledged and understood that Siraj-ud-Dawla was stopped by Mir Jafar's son, and murdered. But if Siraj-ud-Dawla was able to escape from them, if Mir Jafar's son would not have been able to stop Siraj-ud-Dawla, what would be the scenario? So a question is there. Had Siraj-ud-Dawla won the Battle of Plassey? So had Siraj-ud-Dawla won the Battle of Plassey, or he would have been able to escape from there? Here the question is given, had Siraj-ud-Dawla won the Battle of Plassey despite of Mir Jafar conspiring against his own king, his own Nawab? Despite of that, if the question stands, had Siraj-ud-Dawla won the Battle of Plassey, what would have been its impact? Naturally, if Siraj-ud-Dawla would have won the Battle of Plassey, the scenario definitely would have been something else, or probably would have been something else, isn't it? It was because Sirajuddaula lost the battle, and not only just lost the battle, he died, being the victim of a conspiracy that was constructed against him. So, in case he would have won the Battle of Plassey, probably Britishers would have been completely eradicated from our country. Maybe what we see in India today would not have happened, because Britishers would not have been able to set their foot in our country. They would have never got a chance to rule our country. So, we know that Battle of Plassey became the turning point where Sirajuddaula lost. So, the impact would have been completely different. We can just presume this, that if Sirajuddaula would have won the battle, the situation or the scenario would have been completely different. Probably it would be the other way around, that he would have driven away the Britishers from our country completely, and there would have been never such slavery that we dealt. So, gradually it happened, with one after the another incident that took place, of which this is the first incident that we read and understand in history. That because Mir Jafar, who conspired against his own master, his own Nawab, and gave away the political powers in the hands of the Britishers. Well, so the situation would have been completely different. Let us now talk about and understand about the second battle, Battle of Buxar. As promised, the East India Company appointed Mir Jafar as the Nawab of Bengal. So, as the British people had promised Mir Jafar that if he helps them to win the battle and come on his side, they would felicitate him, they would reward him with the throne of Bengal. They would make him the Nawab of Bengal, and that is what happened. They made him the Nawab of Bengal. They felicitated him, they put him on the throne. But what happened? He did not act as per their wish. He also took some objections, he also objected to the taxation policy. Robert Clive also went back to England with the passage of time. So, Robert Clive went back to England after having done this battle. With the passage of time, Mir Jafar became hostile towards British. So, what happened? Mir Jafar also did not act according to the wish of the British people. He was not ready to give away or give it the hands of the British. So, he did not play according to the wish of the British. Though they had thought like that after putting Mir Jafar on the throne, he would be our puppet and whatever we say he would be doing, but he did not. So, he also became hostile towards British. The company decided to replace him with his son-in-law. So, once again the same thing was thought by them, just like they replaced Sirajuddaula and made Mir Jafar and brought him on the throne. Once again the conspiracy against Mir Jafar had started. This time Mir Jafar's son-in-law was approached, was given the temptation that he would be made the Nawab of Bengal. That is how they did. So, company decided to replace him with his son-in-law, Mir Qasim. So, now Mir Qasim was plotted or planned to become the. Mir Qasim was an efficient, disciplined and clever ruler. So, they found his qualities in Mir Qasim, that he was efficient, he was disciplined, he was a clever ruler. And probably they must have thought that Mir Qasim would act upon our instructions. The problem arose between the Nawab and the company on account of the non-payment of taxes. The same old story was again repeated, which had started from the time of Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb had given the permission to rule without the payment of taxes. Only one annual taxation was to be done, which was continued with Murshid Quli Khan, Ali Wardi Khan and Sirajuddaula. The same thing happened with the Nawab of, the current Nawab of Bengal, that is Mir Jafar and the company. The problem arose between Nawab and the company on account of non-payment of taxes, which ultimately brought both the forces to face with each other. So, the same problem was persistent, that is the non-payment of taxes. Earlier also, Sirajuddaula fought with the Britishers for the same purpose. Then, when Mir Jafar came onto throne, he also became hostile And now Mir Qasim, who was the son-in-law of Mir Jafar, also had a problem with the company, that is the East India Company, the British people, for the same reason, for the non-payment of taxes. And therefore, Mir Qasim and his army came face to face with the British army. They had a war with each other. In 1763, Mir Qasim was defeated by the company. So now when Mir Qasim took a war against the company, against the British East India Company, he was not able to defeat them. And the British people defeated Mir Qasim, whom they had appointed as the Nawab of Bengal, thinking that he would be a puppet for them, he would be acting whatever, but he also did not prove right for them. And eventually what happened in 1763, Mir Qasim, when he took a war with the British company, he was defeated. But he was not killed, he escaped. He was lucky enough to escape from there. He was not killed. So he fled from there, he escaped from there. But he did not stop. Again Mir Qasim returned. He came back by reorganizing his army. So he reorganized his army along with the forces of the Nawab of Oudh, Shuja-ud-Dawla, Mughal Emperor Shah Alam. So this time what did Mir Qasim do? This time Mir Qasim did not stop. He returned by reorganizing his army, reconstructing his army, because he must have lost most of his men in that war that he did with the British East India Company in 1763. But he wanted to have a fight with the British once again. Therefore, what did he do? He took help. He collected help from, or he reorganized his army by taking the help of the men or the people of Nawab of Oudh, Shuja-ud-Dawla and Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II, of those time of different regions, different territories where they used to rule. So their combined forces, so it was not only the people of Mir Qasim, but the people of the forces of the soldiers of Oudh, Nawab of Oudh, Shuja-ud-Dawla, Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II, all these people had supplied, had given army people or soldiers to Mir Qasim, because maybe they were also against the Britishers, so they helped him. So their combined forces met the company forces. So once again, a big war had taken place between these two forces, the combined forces of these four people: Mir Qasim, Shuja-ud-Dawla, Nawab of Oudh and Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II. So the men or the soldiers of these people, the combined forces, once again had a war against each other, against the company. And this time it was at Buxar, a place called Buxar. In 1764, the consequent year, earlier Mir Qasim had a war with the British people, with his own people in 1763, but unfortunately he was defeated and he had to escape to save his life. So this time he again came back after reorganizing his army and waged a war against the British. The British East India Company won the war. This time also he was not able to defeat the British, because by this time they had become very strong. Bengal was already in their hands after defeating Siraj-ud-Dawla. So they had already acquired strong political powers. They had strengthened their defense. Their army had become big now. So he was not able to defeat the British people. As a result, what happened? All of a sudden, not just Bengal, Awadh, Lucknow and the Mughal Empire was under their control, because now men of, or the soldiers of the other three places also, Nawab of Oudh, Nawab of Shuja-ud-Dawla and Mughal Emperor, they also had participated in their war. So in a way he had defeated all these three rulers, and therefore their kingdom also came under, their territory also came under the British rule. So this is how the British Empire extended towards Awadh, the so-called Lucknow, and the Mughal Empire was under the rule of the British people. Robert Clive was sent to India to take control of the situation. Now, having done this, having come to know that such a great victory was in the hands of the British, there was someone to control, someone to manage these things. And who could be better than Robert Clive? Earlier we read that Robert Clive had returned back to England after having defeated Siraj-ud-Dawla and putting Mir Jafar on the throne. But later on, when these events, these situations multiplied, what happened? They had to bring back Robert Clive in order to manage. Therefore, Robert Clive came back and he took control of the situation. Probably he was appointed as the governor of Bengal also. That's how the East India Company, a trading company which had come to India with only one intention, to trade, to acquire wealth, to make money out of this, now became a ruler. That is how a trader gradually becomes a ruler. You have a chapter about this as well, how traders become rulers. So that's how the East India Company, a trading company, emerged as a political power. They acquired political power, they won the places in India, either by defeating them or by giving them some kind of incentives. Well, in the subcontinent of India, Britishers were emerged to be the strongest power among the other Europeans who came to our country. Earlier we read the Dutch came to our country, the Portuguese came to our country, but out of all these European powers, Britishers had that brain, that complexity within them, that they were able to defeat the Indians and acquire or capture over them. So it was the people within the system, within the administration, due to their stupidity, we can say, the control of the places of different region, different territories went into the hand of the British. So in a way, we ourselves or the rulers of that time themselves showed some kind of stupidity within themselves and happened to lose their control over the country. Because India was not as we live in India today. It was a place which was ruled by different rulers at that time. Many rulers were enemies within themselves. Therefore, it was easy for the British to acquire political power in our country. Well, this was the Battle of Buxar that we read. Have a look at the screen, the image is being shown to you, and let us quickly see these important pictures with the note given to us within each of these pictures, which is important for you to know about the Battle of Plassey and the Battle of Buxar. The first image that you see on your screen gives you information about Siraj-ud-Daulla's gun on wooden trucks pulled by oxen and pushed by elephants at the Battle of Plassey, which happened on 23rd June 1757 in the Anglo-French Wars in India. The picture has been captured by Richard Caton Woodville. The next image that you see gives you the visualization of Clive's troops in the Mango Grove at the Battle of Plassey on 23rd June 1757. Let us see quickly the next image, where you see Siraj-ud-Daula riding on his elephant at the Battle of Plassey. The next image gives us the understanding about Clive when he gets the message. He sails all the way up to Bay of Bengal to the Ganges river to recapture Calcutta. Earlier we understood that it was Siraj-ud-Daula who drew away the troops of the British from Calcutta when Clive returned over here with his troops. The next image is an information given to us about the black hole incident that took place in Kolkata. As explained earlier, that Siraj-ud-Daula had ordered, it was believed to be that Siraj-ud-Daula ordered his men to trap or imprison the British officers along with the other members of his in a dungeon. So that's the image of the black hole, Calcutta. The next image is of the capture of Chandranagar by Admiral Watson and Robert Clive. Here you see the image showing the pictures of Mir Jafar Khan left and his son Miran, who stopped the way of Siraj-ud-Daula and murdered him. Further you can see the map of the Battle of Plassey on 23rd June 1757. The next image shows the information about Clive watching Sirajuddaullah's deployment from the roof of the hunting lodge, so that he could have a clear picture and plan his warfare. Finally, you have the last image showing you the medal commemorating the Battle of Plassey. Two coins you can see over here, two medals you can see over here. So these are the 2 coins showing the commemoration of the Battle of Plassey. Well, it is now time to note down the homework. Your homework for today will be writing the short note of Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar and submitting as a part of homework after the lesson. Note it down. Well, with this, we come to the end of the chapter, end of this lecture. See you soon in the upcoming lecture. Till then, take care. Have a nice day.